Hello there. Welcome everybody. I am super excited to just have this opportunity to be able to talk to my friends in the country world. I love going to the schools and working with everyone, and I've had the opportunity to watch some of the competition and to see some of the things that I think could make a big difference in your dancing. I want to spend some time today. I want to work on waltz, I want to work on cha-cha, I want to do everything, but I think I'm going to stick with waltz because some of the things that I've seen that I think could make a big difference, I can show you here, and you can already begin to experiment on your own with how that's going to help your dancing. So, first of all, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I see. The idea in waltz is that we are trying to show a lot of volume. And what we all tend to do is that we dance a little bit too two-dimensionally. So we tend to dance just on the axis instead of taking up as much of a circle as possible. So I want to talk a little bit about the circles and then what part of the circle we're trying to dance around to create that look of volume. I want to talk about some of the common mistakes that I see that I think if we can address right away are going to help the balance of the partnership and are going to help you also have a lot better movement across the floor. So she said I can go for 20 or 30 minutes. I want to go for like 3 hours, but we're going to bang it all in. So first thing to talk about, we have three different axes that we're working around, X, Y, and Z, right? So if I turn around from the camera, and you can kind of also see here in the mirror, we're dancing, this is the X axis. So anytime that I'm dancing out to the side, we're going to call that X. The vertical axis traveling through my body is going to be Y. Z is the axis of depth that's traveling through me. We are going to connect two of these to create different planes of movement. And we're going to call them different names so that when you're communicating to each other, you can make sure that you understand that you're doing the same one as your partner, or whatever your partner's trying to lead, your body is trying to react and to follow. So the first one, we're going to take X, we're going to connect it to Z. So if I were to reach out all the way to the side, and then I would touch all the way forward, and then all the way to the side. If I connect these two together, that creates this massive circle around my body. So you would see this big circle. And that is what we call the table plane, as if I'm standing in the middle of a big giant table. When I am dancing through this plane, again, I want to make sure that I'm touching all the different points on the outside of the circle. As I'm dancing through, you can see that my back is dancing first, then my arm, my body, my wrist, my fingers, and then we go back the other direction. So we're working through this space and through this volume. That's the table plane. We can even try the other arm. So you would again, body first, arm, wrist, and then fingers. Notice that when you switch, you don't switch the hand first. Your body starts to go, elbow, wrist, fingers are last. So it's just literally painting all the way through. That's our table plane. The next one is going to be the wheel, where you're stepping and feeling like you're reaching all the way in front of you, all the way to your vertical height and around. So we have this big giant wheel that's stretching. From the back view, all the way forward, kind of a diagonal view, all the way up and around. Notice how that arm is stretching, always feeling all of that space in the room, trying to create as much of that circle as possible. The last one is what we call the wall plane. This is going to be where you're stretching all the way to the side, up vertically, out to the side. And again, all the way to the side, up vertically and out to the side. As we're dancing in this plane, it's as if it's like a wall here in space and a bit of like a rainbow. So that's what we're looking for, is kind of this shape. Again, from this view here, all the way up, all the way up, using that body to fill the space. So if you were dancing a very simple kind of face-to-face, back-to-back action, you can create so much volume. Clearly, if socially we're dancing and we're trying to just, go here, that's all it needs. But if we want to create a lot of space, then what I'm going to do is employ all of these different planes instead of just the arm coming in and out or touching. So if I was, let's say, I'll do the girl's part first, then we can even show you the gentleman's part. But as the girl is being thrown out, she's dancing this circle. And we'll talk about the throw out for a second, because as the couple is dancing and working, it's like the arms are slowly going away. So it's like this kind of look. And so what I want you to think about is that you're holding the arm. The arms are trailing. It's like you don't want to go away from each other. You don't want to go away. It's creating this big circle. So if I threw my girl out as the boy, I would want to stay with her. And then I would go here. As the girl, she would come around and again, tracing that arm as we're opening up. Now watch how, if we do this face-to-face, back-to-back, if I danced one, even if I just close my feet, I'm in limited space right here, and just do some boxes, instead of that touching, I can dance a wheel, to a table, to a table, to a turn, and that has so much more volume the way that we're using our bodies. In this particular application, I'll come back this direction with the gentleman's part. So he's going on the left foot first and would step. 1. Stretching up all the way in the room and then hit the peak rise, close the feet. Notice this frames the face before it goes out again. So I go here and now the table. I'm going to my girl and all the way out. Your arms need to be on the diagonal. So this is really important. When you go here, it's too close to when it's level, being low and being out of balance. And so you always want to have the look that the arm is above level. So anytime you're making these lines, that's the picture that we're going for. So what I want to do, now that I've kind of demonstrated it, we'll all dance it together. We're just going to pick one of the sides and we'll go through the action, and I'll talk about the part of space that I want you thinking about. So let's all just practice it on the right leg. So we're going to go forward on the right leg. There's the 1 count. When we dance through the 2, this is a toe. Notice it's like the arm and the feet are swinging together. Once you reach this point, now after you've hit vertical, you cushion down and around the face, and then you open up. 2, 3. Again, even though my body is swinging to the right, I don't let my arm react. And so I want to make sure that I'm still creating that look. One more time. Right foot forward. 1. Swing up. 2, 3. Filling up the space. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna dance. Box 1, 2. There's your table plane. So if I decide to do all tables, I can still create big pictures, and that's what we want. So thinking about that space. Now that we've established this, I want to talk about some of the things that I see that are disturbing the lines and not keeping as much volume as I would like. So what I want to talk about first is where we maximize the shape. What part of the circles we're thinking about trying to feature. Let's imagine that we were doing an explosion line. I see a lot of these in the waltz, in the competitions. So if I had my partner here and both of us were going up and out into this explosion line, what I see the focus is more of the outside and down, away. And what I would like is the beginning of the circle. So if we imagine that there is a clock and that 12 o'clock is the top and 6 is the bottom, I want you focused more on 6 o'clock to noon. And what I see is noon to 6. So on the other side, just an example, and you can see kind of how the body is dancing. If I'm dancing 12, so from 6 o'clock all the way up to 12, this is the circle that the audience sees because it comes from the bottom and it grows up this way. What I tend to see is it just does this. We start here and we're just going out and missing the whole volume of the circle. Because we have lots of different circles. Everything in waltz is a circle. It's a circle of our closed frame. Then it's a circle of a bigger open frame. It's a circle even when we're side by side. There's a slight curve to our bodies to keep us connected and centered to one another. When we're solo, it can be a circle of our spins. It can be so many, but all the time, it's always about trying to create that circle. So when we're dancing with a partner, together we're making the circle. So if you are practicing this, I'll do it actually towards the camera this time. I want you to take the hand of your partner, if you're watching with your partner, otherwise just imaginary. We'll go down. I want you to think about going forward and notice that I've changed weight, but that all of this part is where I'm trying to fill up the space. Now, whenever I go to 3, this is the end position. And it's not that I am trying to finish the circle. There are times when we're, showing a sway or something where we might do that. But most of the time, it's all about finishing here. So we had all the way up to noon, and then we danced a rotation to finish the line. Then, if we are doing this, it's very difficult to get out. So instead, we start with our legs, and now we do the circle back. If I'm going to do a turn, notice the outside of the turn. So, always working the outside in when you rotate, or the in to out when we're making a picture line. I'm going to dance a twinkle and show you the complaint that I hear from most of the gentlemen, and I'll talk to the guys about how you can help with this, but what the girls tend to do on the shaping that is creating problems moving out of your different figures in waltz. So if I was doing, let's say, an open twinkle, just 1, 2, 3, moving through. The tendency is to dance 1, 2, 3. So I maxed out on 2. Then I moved out on 3, and there was nowhere else to go. Watch what a different look it creates if instead we dance 1, 2. We find our vertical height here. Now I maximize the shape as I'm leaving. So I actually left the arm, danced away from it, and created this bigger picture without getting myself in a hole and pulling my partner. So many times I see the gentleman go here, and then it's like, whoa, they get taken that extra little bit as the girl's taking the shape beyond her foot, maximizing and then trying to get out of the hover. Instead, the gents should be able, for all the leaders, to get to here. And now, as they begin to take their low center away to indicate movement, we should both be able to move out pretty lightly. Guys, if you do not start as the leader, moving your center soon enough, then the girl won't get the indication that you want her to move out. So it's really important that you're always a half of a beat ahead on all of those leads. similar to what you're doing in your other dances. But in waltz, you have to think about that happening on an elevation. And so for a hovering action, 1, 2, your body has to create foot pressure, start to move your center out and say, hey lady, this is the direction we're going next. That girl is responding to, whoop, the lady's getting on her foot. She's going to begin the expression as she feels it move out. She pushes, and then there's your volume. Again, notice I didn't do this part of it, mostly always to here. Then if we want to go to a turn, we're able to start working that center around. So let's apply this concept to another place where I see a big challenge. Would be like the open right turns in either shadow position or in outside partner where you're facing. I see a lot of kind of circle problems on these where we're either turning too much and we're not traveling, or we're so straight that it just looks a little bit like this. So I'd like to address that because it seems to be a really, really common step that everyone is using in their routines. So first of all, with the open right turn, let's just make sure that we understand what the legs and the base are doing. The legs and the base are driving, and this is the same for the leader as it is for the follower. So when you're stepping right foot forward, you're driving forward. The outside of your body is beginning to progress, but the inside of the turn is not turning backwards. I think a lot of people understand the concept that you're not supposed to be turning negatively, but they don't know how to keep it from happening, even if they're aware of the idea. Most of the time, the reason that that's a challenge is because they're looking to the right and stepping and curving to the right. This is going to be impossible to not turn my inside back. Instead, I should be stepping straight. Notice that my legs always are feeling in from the hips, so I don't do this. We'll be here. Now, this part of me is going forward, that right front, but you'll notice that my left back is creating the outside of that circle, and my nose is following straight while my body is turning. When you get to the second step, go this direction so you can do it behind. 1, you're on the inside edge of the toe. At this point, the nose and the toes both turn. It's like the North Pole and the South Pole rotating. Boom. Not this. See how I turn my whole body? It's got to be foot swivel and then just a turn for the head. All of us tend to use our whole neck to turn and all of the muscles down in here. Instead, feel like right where your ears are, that you're trying to turn at that very top vertebra. Say no. Turn very, very high across where the ears are. If you have a hard time doing this, you need to be saying no more in your life. So I want you to just think, so you can go home to your wife, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend. Apparently I'm not saying no enough because I'm doing this. So no. Boom. Very, very high, right? So as we dance this, forward, 1. Forward on the leg. Body is rotating. Head is going straight. Right, the left foot is curving on the inside edge towards the right. So I'm feeling that it's turning this way. Swivel the toe and the nose. Boop. And at that point, you will brush your right foot in and go backwards. So now I'm in this position. There is not turn between 2 and 3 in waltz. So what I see, exaggerating, is a little like a helicopter. 2, 3. Notice that I turned through the whole thing. I have to have pictures and I have to have somewhere from which to swing. So if I start here, 1, I have somewhere to go. 1, 2, but now I stop, just do the feet, There's 3. Now I have somewhere again from which to swing. So I want to feel like the picture that I'm showing is beautiful from 2 to 3 and not in motion, which makes it hard to see. The eye needs time to process the images and the pictures. So when we're constantly turning, it can't actually see the moment. So as full and voluminous as the 1 and the 2 are, the 2 to the 3 needs to just be travel. One more time, last one. 1, 2, 3. Now my nose is to the right because it was here as I swiveled, but I need to get it back to the left on the back half. The head was active when we were on the front half. It's passive on the back half. So when you're going backwards, you turn a little bit with your head and your body together to 1. But now I stop my nose, look at something in space, and allow your body to finish turning underneath it. Now, again, from 2 to 3, you're just showing linear travel instead of rotation. So again, going backwards, we have 1, body finishes 2, the nose is done, and now 2 to 3 was just slicing. Your arms cannot swing with your body in open position because the look overall is not the right picture. What I mean by this is, notice if my left side is up, that very naturally makes this arm want to go up, which is where it's supposed to be, and it's easy. But as I swing my right side up, this is what I see people do. Now it's dropped below level. Even though I didn't change it, it doesn't, I'll do little ones here so you can see, have the right look at all. So, as a kind of a exception to the rule of what it would be if we were in frame, you leave your arm as if you were holding on to a bar. And when you swing away from it. And so this side and hand, arm remains up. So as we're going, my partner's other arm will be on a diagonal, and my arm is on the same diagonal. So we end up with this really big V in the position. And that creates a very nice, strong look and the big lines that we're looking for. So the mistakes that I see, too much turn, not the correct relationship of swiveling the feet when I'm going forward to back, and instead dancing my standing leg to create the rotation going backwards. No turn from 2 to 3, getting the head active on the front half, passive on the second half, leaving the arm up at a diagonal in the room. Relative to the room, it will stay, as opposed to being relative to my body, which is what we're normally doing. We keep things attached to our body whenever we are in a closed frame. So that's going to be specific and different. Lastly, I want to apply this to shadow, because again, in shadow, we're really using this pattern a lot. And this is where the girl will have an opportunity to dance a little bit more styled arm styling in the shadow position, because her right arm is free as opposed to attached to the man. So, first of all, in shadow position, we are not beside one another. The lady is in advance of the gentleman and slightly pitched towards the balls of the feet. So if the gentleman's hand is here, you're pitched towards the hand. The most common mistake that I see with this is that the ladies push up the rib to try to get into the man. When this happens now, I don't know if you can see, but I'm back weighted here. My shoulders are behind my toes. Instead, my core should be back, and I'm moving all of my body, like rocking within my foot forward towards my toes so that I'm here, pitched forward into the connection. Because just like we need a connection when we're enclosed, we need a connection when we're in shadow. If the gentleman and leader is not pulling his core back, there won't be a good connection in his hand. So if the girl's arching back, he'll be like, oh, where is she? Or if both of you are arching, he's got to take his core away from that right hand connection to be able to create a nice, strong relationship between our bodies. So that's the first and most important thing, is to make sure we have a good frame to start with. Leaders, you can't ever have your right arm behind you in shadow. Gotta have that elbow in front, no different than in closed position, but it's actually even a fraction more forward. You're also using your forearm and like all of this part of your arm to try to kind of gently pronate. So you're just slightly lifting to pitch the girl into your hand connection. And so we don't want to have droopy elbows on this because we won't have a good, strong shadow connection in frame. So let's assume that we've got a really great connection now as we're dancing. And we're going to talk about how most of what we just said is exactly the same. So as you're moving forward, let's say I'm a leader and I've got my lady's hand here and I've got her in my connection. Her rib is in my right hand. I will do the same thing. I'll dance forward, looking forward. Both of us are exactly the same. And now we swivel and we look. Choop. Notice when I swivel, I bring that foot in as I go back. What I don't want to see is steps, where the feet are just walking through that and not swiveling into position, because we lose a lot of momentum when the tires of the car are not pointing the right direction. We end up just crossing instead of being able to swivel through and create that momentum. So, again, forward, one. We both turn and swivel our toes. Boom. Got her here. This is the hardest moment. Going backwards, when your right foot is reaching back for everybody, the follower has to stay tremendously forward in that connection and can't be the aggressor moving back here. Excuse me. So we've got to pull that back, pull that center back as you go here. The leader has to invite that core back to bring her. Excuse me. If you go backward with your shoulders, we're going to be in big trouble. Let me grab a quick sip. Excuse me. That's better. Okay. So I'm pulling my center back to bring my partner. Now, as I begin to go back, we'll step here and we'll create that same swing we talked about. And then we'll dance forward and through. For the girl, since your right arm is free, this is where I want to talk about the lady doing her arm styling. As the partner follower is going forward, you do not need to bring the arm in on the front half. Your body's already turning that way. So if you leave it and you swivel, you'll have created that position. So it was super easy. Now we can dance on the table plane if we want to. 1, 2, so that this is full and through the middle. 3, 1, again, I turn into the arm and then I can open it up. Do that once towards the camera. I can open it up and swing. Then I can roll into it. Open it up and swing. You can also, if you're careful, you can swing it down through more of the wall plane this direction. So as I would go back, I can swing it. And it can even pass through for me to then turn into again. So it can swing up and stay, lots and lots of options. But the reason I say be careful Sometimes as we swing the arm down, we drop the side. Remember that we're connected to our partner, so we have to be careful of anything that's not dancing on this plane so that we're not shortening sides and creating breaks. So what I want you to think about is that the arm is always in front of your body. Our tendency is to dance past it, and the arms get behind. This is what I see that contributes to women's turns, not turning in a circle, but turning more like wobbly, more like in an ellipse or in an egg shape. They'll dance a big line, ladies, and we're stretched. We start to rotate, and I've left this arm behind my shoulder. Now I'll bring it in, but I'm already back weighted. Instead, if I think about this is the part of me that has to go the furthest and travel the furthest, I've got to get it going. So I always want to think about the fact that I'm delivering this forward to the turn instead of leaving it behind. So this example in shadow position is no different. If I open and I over open, this is diminishing returns. I'm no longer a circle. I'm not creating a good position. My core is out. Boom, have to be here. So you always want to feel that your arms are in front of you. It's not that there aren't any times that you can be expressive through your body, but when you're doing something in motion, the styling and the pictures and the circles are in front of you. And so if you're spinning, it's about what is in front of you in this space than what is behind you. So always just thinking about how you're creating those circles and keeping it in front to create maximum volume. I have like 19 other things that I want to talk about, but I know that that's my time for today. So I'm hoping that I get to see some of these things on the floor, and then I get to see some of you in person doing them someday. Thank you so much for your time. I enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.